reducing your consumption. Fundamentally, ethics is about political action. And so I'm very glad that the last question points out the connection between the two. And I have the time, I think we are ready. Okay, one shot. This is India, everything chalta hai. So we let you.
Thanks. This is from perspective of IP and capitalism is going late. Yeah, so at least we should respect those moral rights. We are giving reference, but just not for sake of money, but sake of respect. We talk about Mahatma Gandhi quote. So, and that thing is now coming in the tradition. Give an example of TKDL, digital knowledge, digital library. The concept has been now been evaluated by various countries. This is the concept of Indian concept, and we have revoked patents also. Patents for foreign companies, we have revoked on the basis of that source of knowledge. So that is a good how socialism and capitalism are now, the marriage as far as the IP part is concerned, and both are now really playing good role, and that is I think it's a good thing. Thank you for your time.
Professor Rajit Garg.
First of all, for having agreed to moderate this session. Keza, in a very short notice, he agreed to, become a panelist. Same with Karin also. And thank you, Professor Bernard Girard. And the panel was so live, everybody wanted to enjoy, and already we are overshot time by nearly 20-25 minutes, and our tea is getting chilled. So, and last but not least, as Rojita pointed out, we had a panelist from FICCI, that is the prime Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and he is Dr. S.K. Ghosh. But he has given his confirmation, I don't know, he is not landed off. So that is the objective, it's not like that, we have not put any panelists from India. So, and besides that, he is the man who saw this conference on the website, and he himself volunteered despite his busy schedule. Then I invited him for this corporate plenary yesterday, but since he has, so why don't we join the last day of the conference? So, ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Right now, we are waiting for any important announcements. So, due to logistic reasons, we have merged session 15, concurrent session 15 with 13 and 14. So now these sessions, session number 13 will be held in the upstairs, room number 3 and conference hall 3 and 4, and concurrent session 14 will be here held. Okay, so concurrent session 14 will be held in this auditorium only, and 13 will be held upstairs. So thank you very much and enjoy your tea.
When I was actually at the White House,
टेक्नोलॉजी के बेसिस पे आप लोग यहाँ पे चीजें कर सकते हो. अभी टेक्नोलॉजी जैसे सस्ती हो गई है, things like text messaging and those kind of things, But the power, I think, in India is that you can look at the large number of people as a liability or an asset. It's an asset whereby if you connect, let's say, 1 billion people together, right, and there's 1 billion people that are a billion.
Teachers from different areas come and teach.
one of the classic feature of supply chain.
एक घंटे तक का वसूलना था 15 मिनट कोई भी I'm sure that we can figure many Union Bank of India. And this joy, when you find the joy in yourself, you actually transmit it to the surroundings.
When I start teaching in France, every time I start teaching,
and specifically those resources which are very, very scarce. Now, the concept of green economies definitely promises a very important promise towards the paradigm of the economic growth, as it carries the protection of the ecosystem, which is the need of today. Now, there are a lot of international agencies which are also, taking care of the proactive role, which they can really hold this upturn of the crisis. Now, you can see on this particular slide that I have mentioned here the timeline of sustainability. These are all referring to the international endeavors, as well as in India and abroad, that what specific, the global compacts and the agreements and the endeavors which they have taken place to contain and sustain the environment. Now, definitely because of the global warming, it is the need that we should develop this sector, that is the alternative energy sector, to the best possible extent. Now, it gives us emphasis on the fact that the economic growth and the environmental accountability, they are not particularly the trade-offs. They are, to my knowledge and to my, the scanning of the books and all, they are all contemporary strategies and they are complementary strategies. That is, if we go green, this is definitely going to put us on the path of the sustainable development. There are unfavorable ecological effects because of the fossil and fuel reserves are completely exhausting. Their cost is, escalating like anything, and it is really touching the sky. And so we have to prioritize to use the alternative, the sources of energy to, upturn this issue or uphold this issue. The present scenario and the present structure, we are unable to, complete and fulfill the energy needs, which is the need of today. So that is why, as you see on this, the India is the primary energy consumption, and from 2007 till 2011, you can see this graph that the use and the extent of the primary energy is increasing day by day, and the present resources are not enough to take care of all this. So there is a need to uphold this by developing the solar energy sector, the biomass energy sector, then the geothermal, the wind and the hydropower. Now, coming on to the global trends, there is a total increase of 17% to about $257 billion in 2011, and out of this 35% is contributed by the developing countries and 65% by the developed countries. And India is coming on to one of the top 20 leading nations and grabbing the 6th position as far as the growth is concerned, and the growth is about 62%. According to one study which is done by the United States, if this is the rate at which India is growing, India will be the global leader in the renewable sector. And seeing the competitiveness, there's a lot of scope and opportunities for India to really taking care of this sector and leading towards the sustainable development. The subsidies which is given to this alternative and the renewable energy is also increasing, and there's a promise that till 2035 it will be like many folds. Now about in India, the developing countries like India is facing a dual burden. First, the development, second, the sustainability. And both of them are not trade-offs, they are the complementary strategies as I mentioned before. So what role? And this particular sector needs money, and out of all the factors which are available to finance this, FDI is the special route. Now the energy, a prerequisite for the economic development, and plays a pre-vital and a proactive role to increase the national income of any country. Now these are the institutional setup for the renewable energy, and perhaps India is the only country which is having a separate ministry for the renewable sector. I have taken the data from all these sources which are mentioned above, and it was a real big challenge to incorporate and collect the vital statistics to come on to and empirically test the role which the renewable sector FDI can play in economic development, particularly in the developing countries, specifically India. So a comparison of the potential and the installed capacity, if you see the statistics on this slide, that the most exhausted part is the wind energy, and the least exhausted part is the solar energy. So the maximum potential lies in the solar aspects, and a lot of endeavors are taking place by the financial sector also, like State Bank of India has opened its own windmills, and all the branches are taking care of that. All the financial sectors specifically, because they are the domain for the future and they are containing the future, so they are taking a lot of efforts to making themselves green as well as the energy efficiency, then the generation of their the endeavors towards the sustainable development. They are putting a lot of efforts. So we have a lot of targets, as all countries, specifically India, they are taking good initiatives to become the signatories of the environmental protocols, like United Nations initiative in the financial programs. Then we have Carbon Disclosure Project, and then we have Kyoto Protocols. Then we have Equator Principles. So all these endeavors are there, and India is definitely a
2 minutes.
the variables for the stationarity using augmented Dicker-Fuller test and the Philip-Heron test. I came on to these results that FDI plays a very positive role in the economic development of the country. As the statistics, the p-value that you should come out with, build your own model specifically for the multinational corporations, which is inevitable and no country can do without it. Build your own model in which they will bring their own infrastructure, their own technology, their own funds, and develop a particular. And I took the other countries' data also to see the same scenario, and those who are using this particular renewable energy sector, they were coming out, and it is definitely our studies contemporary to that.
Actually, you have used augmented Dicker-Fuller test.
Yes, to test the stationarity of the clock.
And after that, you have tested the co-integration. Whether
In fact, I used the IIT information criteria in which the lags were identified, and incorporating those lags, then I did that particular Granger causality test.
So there was bidirectional causality.
Yes, there was a bidirectional.
Actually, observations which are very less. You cannot go for linear causality test. If you go by the literature, you may see Dixon-Pacheco Granger causality test that was given by in 2010. We have Hemestra-Jones Granger causality test. There are various, so you may not. The results.
Yeah, that is one of the limitation of the study, that the number of observations, as it started so late that we could not do anything about it. But yes, I was not able to get the monthly data which I wanted to do empirically. But yes, overall it goes on with the international comparisons of that renewable sector FDI plays a very, very significant role in the economic development of any country, specifically the developing countries. Thank you so much. Any other question?
Thank you. Can we ask Tarun? Yeah, Tarun and Akshi. Abstract, and what you're trying to compare is multinational versus domestic companies, right? In CSR. So why don't you go ahead?
From National Institute of Financial Management. So my topic is CSR in multinational enterprises. Are they better? So the mixed economy approach also led to the emergence of different company classification in India. We had public sector enterprises, we had private enterprises, we also had the multinational corporates operating simultaneously in India. Most of the companies, they are following some aspects of CSR. So the major objective of my paper is to see whether there exists some significant differences among the various categories of the companies which are operating in India. The second main objective, the main aim of the study is to see the relationship between CSR and firm characteristics. The firm characteristic influence CSR behavior in our study. The methodology and research gap, many of in India we found that none of the very few or very rare studies have empirically tested these relationships. So this is the main gap, and the methodology was another issue. Most of the tests were parametric approach. They have adopted a parametric approach, so we adopted a more robust methodology to get a better understanding of the picture. So these are the objectives I have already talked about. To empirically examine the level of CSR involvement of MNCs operating in India as compared to non-MNCs, and secondly, to empirically examine the impact of different firm characteristics on CSR in MNCs and non-MNCs. So, research methodology, the data has been extracted from Provis database, and Karmyog 2010 survey, the CSR ratings of Karmyog 2010 survey has been taken. It's a NGO which has given the CSR rating. Our sample consists of India's largest 500 companies. So this is the sample. The estimation techniques, firstly we tested the normality using these two techniques, then we Man-Whitney U-test and ordered probability regression. I will be covering over. So these are the preliminary analyses. So we can see none of the firm could get level 5 rating. Out of the 500 companies, none of the companies could get level 5 rating, and only 2% of the total firms, that is 500 companies, could get a rating of 4. So that is a shocking picture. We all the companies are talking about the CSR. They have strategies to improve CSR, but only 2% of the total 500 firms, that is the they are getting 4 ratings. And if we talk about level 0, they were around 23%. 1/5 of the total companies they got 0 score. That means absence of complete CSR activities. So this is the group-wise classification. I further classified the into percentages. That is, out of the 0 rank, all the companies, 92 companies were from private firms, and that was 80% and 30% of the total private firms. That is, most of the private firms were contributing to 0 ranks, and big chunk was also contributed by multinational corporations and PSUs.
So 0 rank is the lowest.
Yeah,
level.
There was no involvement of CSR. Okay. So these are for rank 3rd and rank 4th. You can see in rank 4, most of the companies, 4 were private and Indian multinational were 7. So now coming over to tests of normality, that is the preliminary analysis for testing a relationship. So the results are significant. That means the data was not normal. So we cannot use a parametric technique to test the relationship. So that's why we use Mann-Whitney U test to see the relationship. So now we have compared the group-wise relationships, that is multinational corporations and Indian multinational corporations. These are foreign multinational corporations and these are Indian multinational corporations. So if we compare the mean rank, the multinational corporations are having a higher mean. That means they are involved in a better way. They have a higher mean score as compared to Indian multinational corporations, but the relationship is not significant. And if we go by private and PSU comparison, the PSU have a greater mean score and the relationship is significant. Then private and multinational corporations, the multinational corporations have a higher mean value, and the relationships are significant. Which are performing better, 4 rating, because they are only 12. So in private firms there are Ballarpur Industries Limited, they got a score of 4, and Jubilant Life Sciences, they also got a 4. Mahindra and Mahindra, they also got a score of 4, and Titan Industries, they also got a score of 4. There are some private companies. In Indian multinational, TCS, there are some companies. If you want to see the list, you can go to Karmyog 2010 survey. There is an exhaustive list of all the.
So can you tell us about the Karmyog survey, because because MNCs do a better job of public relations, is it possible that it will bias the result and they will come out as better?
But if we see the weighted 0 also, so there can be a chance, but this is the only rating available in India for CSR. There are no other firms, no other credit rating agency you can say which has rated. So this is the only source where we can get CSR rating.
And so we have this Karmyog 2011 survey also. You took 2010.
Yeah.
Now the scenario is altogether changed. Now there is no company which is having 0.
Okay, this is what.
In 2010 there were 500 companies. Now there are 1,000.
Now there are 1,000 companies.
And
what scenario?
Yeah, it's on the same website.
Gonna see change now.
Same website.
Same website. .org.
There are 1,000 companies.
Thank you for rating my information.
They have it on
the
the
website.
website.
What you have to do is to get a
You have to
You
rely on what you have got. If you go by province,
this topic,
okay,
and I have made the questions, and then I have not relied on any. I have only relied on the linear regression equation.
That is a very debatable issue whether to even.
I have not relied on any test.
Then you have made the data stationary and then data.
No, you cannot change the properties of the data. If you change the properties, the results are different. If you go by what approach I am talking about, you cannot change the properties of the data. If the data is stationary, you have to use some other techniques. If the data is non-stationary, you have to go by another technique. If you change the properties of the data, the results will be biased and different. So this is approach I follow. You have to stick to the properties of the data.
And you never do. That is, those who are doing good in the business are doing it good in their CSR also.
But we could not establish this relationship.
It is significant. We did a survey, it was significant.
That is why, if suppose there is a ball and you want to measure it and you are taking a scale to measure it, will you be able to measure the length or the circumference? If you are using a linear technique to measure a spherical thing, how can you
listen, Tarun, I know this is a very heated, and those who are into the PhD process understand that how passionate this discussion can be. But I suggest you take it offline to chat and try to figure out what it is, and without getting into too many methodological questions, I'd request the rest of the speakers to say, give their main ideas, because the methodological questions can be always very detailed and but do raise them though. Thank you, Tarun. We'll give you a hand again. Next is Surbhi. You're up next. You're from session 15 also. And as you set up, let me give you some introduction. Surbhi Singh is at the Institute of Management Studies in Noida, and she's going to talk about best practices in management education.
There's a lot of challenges, which is there because a lot of business schools are opening up, and it's very difficult to sustain because this session is on sustainability only. It's very difficult to sustain, the business schools in the current scenario. So I have just made this paper from that perspective only, and since I am a faculty of IMS Noida, so I have just tried to study my own college that I have tried to measure this on few dimensions also, and just I'll share with you the conclusion also. Now, what exactly, when we say modeling best practices means it is related to some, transformational leadership. If the college is showing some best practices model, then of course it is showing some transformational leadership. So IMS Noida is of course showing transformational leadership because it is providing some different type of classroom teaching, different staff is there,